subconsciously, I'll be like, I'm seated here for my mother, for my father, not to disgrace my family. I'm on the laptop, I'm thinking, for my friends. I was not seated there for me at all.
The stories we carry don't end when they happen. They echo. They shape how we see the world and who we become. I'm Funmi Akinwale, and this is Echoes and Parables, where we make sense of the stories we live.
Today, my guest is Funmi, and I am really honored to have you join this session of Echoes and Parables. Our relationship, I think, is a bit indirect. I think it's more a case of a friend sort of connection that we do have. But I think that this friend of ours was very good at articulating what the other person was doing. So I feel like I know you through her own eyes. So welcome, and thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Funmi. Thanks for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So I guess my first question to you would just be to give us some background about who you are, especially, I guess, when it comes to your family, your early days, where you grew up.
Okay. I grew up in Lagos. I have 3 brothers, and my mom, my dad, we're all in Lagos. But early on, before I turned 10, work took my dad out of Lagos. So it was basically my mom, my brothers, and I, for the most part. My parents were very career motivated. So they used to go out early, come back late, because just hard work and giving the best meant a lot to them. So we were a very indoorish, academic type family. So they tried to sacrifice much to get the money to pay for good education. So work,
Wow.
career, academics was a big component. What you become in life was a very big component of the journey.
Is most of this you looking back, or was there a sense, even when you were younger, that this was the values that you were being brought up with?
To be honest, there was no consciousness of the pressure. Because the irony was that because they would rush out early, they were not around to even see what was happening. I'm speaking for myself. I went through school, I'll just say with natural intelligence. So I got to secondary school, they invested, and I really appreciate the sacrifice to take me to a very expensive secondary school. But I was so young, I was just moving and enjoying myself. I wasn't intentional academically. So there was a gap there where they were out sacrificing a lot, but the why was not even clear to us. But as you get to university, then they are thinking about career. So they're very intentional. So my dad is like, hey, you must come out with a first class, that kind of thing. But, that was the expectation. But the backup with action, because after that was said, I went to university again, exceptionally young. I didn't know what I was doing. I was not even intentional about the academics they were sacrificing so much for. But when work came, then expectation, where are you now? What career? These careers are the ones that will make money, all that performance type of stuff. Yeah.
Do you think this is something that was just a prevalent thing in Nigeria at the time? Do you know what kind of factors were influencing them? Like, were they consciousness that was inherited from their own backgrounds?
I'll say the drive for success, and maybe to put more clearly, financial success, yes, might have come from both grandparents on both ends, because on both ends, we had like a lineage of people working hard and doing, I would say, mostly entrepreneurship, and then having a lot of wealth enough to show society that they were doing well financially. I've also wondered if colonization had anything to do with the drive for that generation to want to be like the West. There's something you have seen, maybe somebody has traveled and you have seen how a society can be developed, and your society is not like that. And by all means, you're trying, especially financially, to define development as what you see. So go and get all the money you can to build a system, a competitive system that we have seen. Yeah, and I would say just maybe, but on both ends, I would just say it was more from their parents. It would be more success, financial success, maybe not so much career.
When you say you were moving fast, what does that mean exactly? Like, how was that in real terms for you in primary school and then in secondary school?
Okay, well, just double promotions. So say I turned 18 when I was graduating from the university.
Wow.
Yes. The week I turned 18. So in primary school, maybe I got a double. First of all, I started early. Mommy has to go to work, so you start early. And then maybe they thought the best thing to do, because you had like a high IQ, was to make you skip a class. It's interesting that I'm now in the education space, and it's something I stop with everything within me. IQ is just one component of life. You know, I also say that I think school and academics, even though I'm in the education space, might have taken a bit away from my natural genius and like who I wanted to be, because there were some careers that they were arranging you for, both the school system and your parents. You know, there's how they were thinking for you. So I think I skipped a nursery class, which is a big mistake. I think private universities were new in Nigeria, and then I got into one the year that, so I didn't stay at home at all. This young child, I just was done with secondary school, got straight into university. To be honest, I didn't even know what I was doing. You know, it's years after, I'm like, what were you even doing? I didn't know what reading was. I didn't know nothing. In fact, to tell you how I realized what university was, it was year 3, and something that happened that made me realize that, wait. There's meant to be intentionality about this thing, even at secondary school. So when you get to see your parents, like I said, they are busy. But when you now get to see, all they care about is the result. Like, so you do well at the end. Then went to boarding school as well. That didn't help. But in boarding school, I would see some girls reading, because it was quite a pricey school, putting their legs in water, working hard, reading. Honestly, I'll tell you that secondary school, SSC, I didn't even read anything. I was just a girl coasting, doing life all by herself, maybe natural intelligence, moving her left and right. Nobody journeyed or woke me up or explained the why to me. Yeah, so it took a while for me to know what was going on. Yes.
You mentioned about something that happened that made you think, oh, there's supposed to be an intentionality about this. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh, yes, I can. Beginning of year 3 of university, I studied economics, a 4-year course. And my friends, everybody was asking each other, oh, what was your GP? How many years did you get? I'm like, like, what's going on here? And nobody asked me. So for me, it's like, it's that nobody thought I'll get anything high, like high grades. What's happening? People are congregating and talking about something and exchanging, but I'm left out. So I'm like, so you're meant to read and then pass and track a CGPA. And from that, the remaining 2 years, you know, of university, oof. But maybe people just assume a child is in school, she should know why she's there in the first place. But I didn't know. Nobody gave me I didn't know. I really didn't know. So yeah, I did much better after that, because, okay, so you're meant to be intentional about books, about grades, and but my grades were super high from that point on. Yes.
It sounds like it was a case of parents being very busy, knowing what they're trying to get you to, but there was a different other growing up that wasn't necessarily happening. Were there any other areas that you sense that maybe you missed out, even when you look back now, in terms of you growing up in just facing academics?
So in addition to just facing academics, the other dimension, like friendship. So my father, in order for you not to be distracted in life, is very clear: don't have friends. So stay at home, don't have friends, no neighbors, stay in your house. He did it with good spirits, because he wanted focus for success in life. You know, I love my father, I love me so much. But based on what he understood, that's what he brought to the table. So guess what used to happen? I'm in boarding school, I'm making friends. When I see that it's almost holiday season, I'll start withdrawing from you. because I don't want you to say you are coming to visit me at home, and I don't want you to be embarrassed. Yeah. So the friendships did not then become deep because we couldn't take it beyond a certain level. And because me, I'm calculating, I don't want my parents to say friends are not allowed in my house. And then even in the area, if my father saw somebody, because of the amount of shelter that I got, if there was somebody that just seemed more exposed and more confident, she's like, be careful of that neighbor, just remain my innocent baby. So yeah, for friendships, I think that I explored that late. And so for that reason, I burnt my fingers, when I was much older, trusting that I'm now a people person. Like now, I like to host. I like people around. And after university and when I started living alone, that was something you'll see around me, that people would come and stay. My childhood, my adolescence, my university season, I didn't have the time to learn the dynamics of friendship. So maybe I then paid the price at a much younger age, coming in with a lot of naivety in my exploration of human.
Was this just you, or were your brothers also traveling this whole experience together, in the sense of just that whole naivety? Was that happening across board with you and your siblings?
Honestly, I don't. So the rules were for everybody. Had the rules. We never talked about how we navigated the rules. I know I had one adventurous brother that would still go out and do what they want. Again, I'm a woman, so maybe extra sensitivity, maybe it's not a gender thing. But yeah, I would engage certain realities in the home differently. You know how they say children experience their parents differently? So the way I would manage it is different. As the only girl, so I had the room, only me, and my brothers were in their own world. So I was in my bubble a lot, doing my life independently. Of course, we'll talk, we'll gist, they like to watch TV, play games. I was in my world with dolls, and mommy is probably at work. Maybe I'm following one help up and down, but I was just in my world. Yeah. So we all experienced it differently. It wasn't a conversation that we had to see how it played out for different people.
Do you feel like you and your siblings were close? Did this whole dynamic with the parents also affect that natural brother-sister closeness?
I think we were close enough. Is what we congregated around, or the kind of conversations that happened that we can unpack. Because the kind of conversations, like in my house, we rarely spoke about, now even with the parents, we rarely spoke about like the social dimensions in life, emotional dimensions in life. So some dynamic that made us a bit more outward facing than inward facing. Because I don't know that we had enough family like traditions and conversations and vulnerability and things like that for us to find home as the place of rest and peace. And home, like growing up, when we said our careers, you meet, hey, what's up, how are you doing? What are you up to now? I'm doing this exam, I got this promotion, I got this new job. It was not, man, I'm tired. Like, I'm tired, life is tough, or see what this guy did to me. Or vulnerable, my parents did not, and I always give them extend grace, because I'm aware it's based on what they know, and most of our parents made that mistake. It's what they know that they will pass on. So no judgment call at all. I love my parents, mom, dad, shout out. But there was no example or modeling of vulnerability, which is what I now think the peak of a family should be, that people can come and be themselves. Zero performance, zero try, because you are a member of this family, full stop. There's even another thing I always say to one of my friends, I don't remember, and maybe I just have a bad memory, right? But my family, we don't talk about that. But I don't remember me and my brothers conflicting, like even over words. I remember some brothers can fight boys, but that you would have no, I don't like when you do this. Please, could you put this thing here? Just have a banter around an issue you're not comfortable with. I don't remember it. So it's either it's just silence, it's just, yeah. There's a lot of things to unpack there. And just getting into life myself, I would say, thank God I'm not a good robot. So with all this that I've said and the family expectations and high flyers, something, there's a part that I think I was uniquely created with to pause and say, come. These things you were told, is that how life really is? Questioning. I'm like, am I enjoying life this way? Like, I just spoke of my parents. Let me shout out to my grandma, who I was pretty close to, but she was in the fashion business and she had quite some money. And she was close to like governors and the owner of Ife and all that. And I remember one day as a child, and so because fashion was a business, and Ashoke, I'm a Yoruba girl, and Ashoke is some traditional attire that they put on. And I, as a child, felt that thing used to poke my body and it was not comfortable, right? But nobody will listen. Everybody wants to turn up for, let's go and meet this governor, or go and meet this owner of Ife. I remember one day my grandma wanted to take me. Nobody asked this child if they really wanted to look like a caricature or prove anything to anybody. I hid in the house. They were looking for me like all around, just to be dressed in a certain way that I was absolutely not interested in. So yeah, that was my growing up. I consider it, and this is reflectively, I didn't know then, it was a lot of high performance, environment, high expectation type of environment. But life, that changed, as I said, to discover myself and discover my journey with time. Yeah.
How much had you moved or advanced in life generally before you started some of your questioning?
I would say when I was done with university, it could have been as far as that, or maybe like first for NYSC, I know how
the National Youth Service Corps, which is compulsory for every graduate in Nigeria.
Exactly. Yeah. So compulsory. So during the NYC, there's a thing that happens in Nigeria where if you knew people that worked there, you could influence where you are posted to. I don't know that is right. And that was my first, because I was faster and I went to a private university, I got to finish university first before my siblings. And because I was only girl, they were trying to arrange the posting, if possible, talk to someone that works in NYC. And that was my first, no, let life post me wherever I want. I want to go. I want to be adventurous. And then, so that was one. So I went far away. And then they posted me to even one village. So that was life in a way that I didn't know it. And then after NYC, I went for an MBA immediately. And in that process, I think I started realizing something. When someone sees somebody young in career or academics, they will immediately think you're brilliant because you're young. How did you move this fast? And so MBA, of course, MBA is another thing that maybe mentally I was not ready for, but we did it, and I'm grateful for it and the sacrifices made. But we had to do this internship. I think that was one revelation, first big revelation. You have 3 months of compulsory internship and everybody's jostling for trying to get the biggest organizations. And in my spirit, I did not care. I just wondered why everybody was jumping up and down. Like at the end, I now got one of the big 4 consulting firms, which everybody wanted to go to. I was like, oh, wow. And then I got there and it didn't make sense to me that I'm designing slides from morning to night. We're part of the consolidation. I'm like, okay, is this life? That season made me question, because after the internship, then you go back for the MBA to complete your MBA. And then there's a proper career fair where you then interview to get into the role. So it was almost automatic. You did your internship in a big 4 consulting firm and they want you. Won't you go there? This is where I started knowing that I was a bit different, because there was a career fair and the booths were all set up and I was because I wasn't as strong-willed to look in a big 4 and say, or to tell anybody, parents, friends, colleagues, that no, I don't want, it doesn't make sense to me. It's not for me. I'm not wired for it. I was avoiding the booths that many people wanted to go to. Like, how can you ignore the opportunity to work here? But I'm like, no, nothing is there. So that was funny. After that MBA, I got a bank job that helped me. The 3 months of the training school really helped me, because even though we were trained to fit into what I would consider one of the best banks in Nigeria, the person that trained, shout out to Tutu Shule LNC, she made us realize that, you know what, life is about your journey, the authenticity of your journey. I'd never heard an outsider say it that loudly, and she was quite eccentric in her ways and in her approaches. She just lived free. In class, she'll come, she'll dance, she'll ask us what we did over the weekend. Yes, we'll do the banking, and she'll tell us clearly, banking is not for everybody. Some of you might not be here in 6 months. Some of you, no, that really released me that, oh, there are people that are this free and this authentic. That was revealing to me, to meet Tutu. Shout out to Tutu. And so then I went to the bank. I didn't last for up to a year, like she predicted, because it wasn't for me. I left that one. So the question started with that first commercial bank. I now thought maybe because it was commercial bank, maybe I should go to something more serious. Of course, that's the way my parents wanted it. Then I went to investment banking. And then everybody's doing, and then the stock market was doing well in Nigeria. There was a boom. And I would be by my laptop. This is what I remember. That changed my life and journey forever. I'll be by my laptop. I'm wondering, I did not misplace anybody's money. I did not steal anybody's money. Why am I tracking and protecting money of some rich people somewhere? This is boring. It is not for me. And I remember consciously, I'll be like, I'm seated here for my mother, for my father, not to disgrace my family. I'm on the laptop, I'm thinking, for my friends. I was not seated there for me at all. Then I had something figurative where I'll say, if I was in Mali, so Mali was just figurative, a town where nobody knew me, I would go to a Mali and I would prefer to sell in a fast food joint and be engaging in human beings and talking than to be looking at these charts and, you know, the data moving up and down. So that all led me to move to a new town that wasn't Mali, but Abuja, where I didn't know anybody, to just start this my life of freedom and peace and self-expression.
Like, you got to the point where it was crisis enough that you didn't want to be in an investment bank. Had you reached the point where there was no considerations anymore for the expectations from home?
Well, I worked on the island, lived on the island with a friend. My parents were
so this
on the
is
mainland, my mom.
as in Lagos Island, which is where the commercial hub of Lagos. Yes.
Oh, yeah. So I was in Ikoyi, Lagos Island. And so I knew I wanted to make that decision. Now, for me, usually it takes months for me to make a decision. So I'm strategizing on how to do it. And again, like I said earlier, we didn't have a family where we used to talk about tough stuff or emotional stuff or social stuff. Those are not the kind of conversation. It's like, dress up, there's this party, there's school. So I didn't know how to tell them, look my father in the face and say that, because I'd met somebody, I'd heard of somebody that wanted to do like spelling bees. Because the question to myself is, what will I do for free? What makes me happy? If nobody was going to pay me, what will I do? And first it was around learning or being with children. Then it was being with children. Then I heard of someone that was going to do a spelling bee. There was no job, there was nothing. I'm like, okay, I can go and meet him. So I did a mail. I did not have the liver to go and tell them. I first sent a mail to my family from the island to explain that this thing is not working for me. But they thought, they thought that I got another job in the Abuja. I positioned this competition like something that was very structured, not knowing that I was self-financing and all that to make it happen. So yeah, and then I went. They didn't understand it, but somehow we stumbled into it. Maybe my father at some point later on said he thought I was joking, or he just thought I would go for a few months and come back. Yeah, man, the things that we have done in life. But yeah, that's what happened.
So you just decided this is the transition you need to make. There wasn't any real idea about how you would live in this scenario in terms of making and earning. And you basically just took the dive, got up and went to the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja.
I was fed up, I was tired, but I calculated a bit. So because of the nature of where I was working, it was a town at that point. I didn't know anybody. But yeah, so I saved up for a move. And like, I have a childlike, should I say faith? Hopefully not naivety. At that point, I just wanted to live my authentic life. I'm even clearer now, but at that point, I just wanted to live, to be free, to be me. You know what I mean? I was choking. And I knew that, yes, I had the rent that would keep me for some time. But what will happen second, third? Oh, and then I read some books that told me if you followed your heart and you followed your dream, everything in life will line up and give you what you want. So yes, I was encouraged by all that to go into Abuja, yes.
Who we become is often shaped by things we didn't fully understand at the time.
So you mentioned you read books. You mentioned this individual who you looked up to as an accidental mentor to the lady that had done your training. Did you have any other people who were kind of articulating for you some of the things that were going on in your head, or were you just isolated in that space?
At that point, I was isolated in that space. Oh, but I had a friend who I absolutely love, who I would tell about the journey, but not even deeply. I was going my own journey. I didn't have many senior people that I was articulating with myself and my God. And it wasn't heavily God, but just myself and the human spirit and the books I've read of other people's experiences. It was more other people's experiences. Just go for it. Just try.
Literally, like this sort of thing that people do across countries is what you kind of did in between states. How did you go about navigating that?
I came months before, I can be funny, to feel the town. To see if the town is weird, but I just have this thing, to see if the town was calling my name. So I came, because maybe it was my second time in Abuja, first time for work, it was just a short training, went back. And then the second time, I had hooked up with someone, a former university mate, lived in Abuja. And then hooked up with this guy who told me about telling him I need a place in a few months. It was the one that then got the house for me. Got the house, thank God for funds, got someone to set up everything before I came from Lagos. So I came to a ready house, thank God for savings and all that. But I'd heard of this guy that was thinking of doing a spelling bee in Abuja. So that was going to be my landing. It wasn't a job, it was me helping him do what I thought I would enjoy. I had not tried it then, but I just thought I like to spend time with children. It was the only soft landing, if anything like that I had. Beyond that, I didn't think of anything much. But like the person that set up my house, I had heard of some classmates who was into interiors that lived in Abuja. So I called her up, trusted her judgments, and then she made it happen. Oh, another thing to say is that because I was coming upper north, Abuja is north central, I had some people that I'd met in my training school in the banking industry who introduced me to the spelling bee guy and also introduced me to some friend that introduced me to Sheila. Well, just that, then trying to find one or two anchor people as you get into town and to say, oh, this is what I'm up to. What are you thinking? I feel like sharing one random part. So I came and I did that spelling bee that didn't turn out the way I thought, because coming from Lagos background, if you want to do a project, you have the funding, but the guy did not have any money at all. Maybe he was trying to do everything by faith, meaning we had gone to these big international and small schools to tell them, if you win the spelling bee, this is the price. And he did not have the money. I don't know that world at all. I don't know it. So he said, no, we'll just explain that there are no sponsors. That's not possible. So I had to use part of the savings that I have had to pay the prize money. And so for me, it was like, it's just how things work out. But guess what? So I was very disappointed by that first encounter. But I was sitting in the mall one day. There was Silverbird Gallery that time. Then somebody just walked in, a former school university mate of mine. And like, hey, hi, what are you up to? Because I had had that spelling bee experience in Abuja, I was able to say, oh no, I just completed a spelling bee. I explained that, which now led to him introducing me to my first gig with an NGO on conducting a proper
Oh,
spelling
wow.
bee. So that was, even though the first encounter was a bit disappointing, it led, because I got experience from that, to the other gig by a
Wow.
random chance of somebody working in it to me.
Was this now a regular thing you were doing at the time in terms of the organizing spelling bees with NGOs as sponsors?
Yeah, so with the one NGO, is the one NGO that wanted to organize spelling bees for orphanages, all orphanages in the FCT.
I see.
Yes, and they had the funding for it. So they went beyond spelling bee. It was capacity building. So there were other things they did, and we did it annually for the season that I did stuff with them. Yes.
In this whole thing where you said you were wondering if the town was calling your name, were you getting better impressions about the town's fit to you or you to the town?
Yeah, I think the town just felt free. The town felt less pressured. Maybe again, it helped that I didn't know anybody that knew that this girl has done masters, has done this, she should be earning this, one investment banking. So I was free to do anything. And then early on, maybe months after, I met somebody who then introduced me to my sweetie, Sheila, and that changed my course structurally. Financially, I had savings, I had come, but money is not enough. You can't stay forever. So at some point, I had good friends, shout out to them, that knew that I was on the adventurous path, and sometimes to support me, like when real things like rents came up, maybe years after my move. All your savings are finished. You, this adventurous woman that said you can do anything. Now reality has come. There's hunger. But first year, I met Sheila. That's a turning point of my career, because passion is not enough. You left banking, you want to, even if you want to work with children, you need to learn around it. Even passion is not enough. You have to get learning. So it helped that I met a friend who then took me to this office that changed my life forever, like many years ago. Yes.
If you just permit me, it's just so that it's clear to the people that might be listening to this. So when I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation that our relationship is an indirect one, that person in the middle of that indirect relationship is Sheila, who unfortunately is now late, but is obviously a friend of ours. Maybe just give a little background into how you actually met, how you guys actually met, and then how that journey for two of you started.
Okay. So somebody I met in Lagos, some friends introduced me to somebody in Abuja. I think they were in Abuja for holiday, and I went to see them in their friend's house and spoke about my heart and what I've been doing so far. And the guy is like, there's someone you should meet. Yes. And he then takes me to this office to meet this lady. She was into Christian education in Nigeria, and she had been around for a while. And so just for us to talk, and I can say a bit more about how that conversation went.
And by this time, where were you in terms of your work in faith? Because obviously, I think the Christian side of things was one of the connecting points for you and Sheila. Or was it?
Not really. No, not really. The Christian side of things was, no. But yes, I'd been in church, grew up in church all my life. Years after, I'll call that a lot of religion going on there, and a lot of rules and all that. So when I met Sheila, it was still all that, going to church. Of course, I was cell leader, you've done choir, you've done many things, but had you met the person of Christ, or were you moving up and down and just doing religion? So at that point, I was still knowing Christ, and my meeting Sheila was just for education. It wasn't so much the Christian part. No, I didn't even know that you was a Christian consultant or education consultant.
So what was this first conversation you referred to with her that you were talking about?
Okay, yes. So I was just telling her about my journey, and then the spelling bee that I'd come to do in Abuja, and it just felt like sunshine in front of me. Like, she was first of all so warm, so open, and immediately she's like, "Oh, let's see again." Maybe if we probably met the next day or 2 days after. And then in that meeting and subsequent meetings, what I saw was the opposite of what I had known. I saw acceptance and love, and before any performance. this man doesn't know me. I'm not, like, it was just, should I say, believe in the human spirit or somebody made in the image of God, and just the acceptance is what I felt a lot. And of course, talking about education, she's like, oh, a good first step is to, do you want to explore working in a school around, maybe as administrator because of your business background? And I'm like, am I sure? And she didn't know me. She took me to the school, just the cheerleading and the championing my cause. And I'm like, I just met this woman some days ago. Why is she disturbing school owners? But from then on, for well over 10 years, going on 2 decades, she held my hand. And we both tried to channel a path, 1 for learning, 2 for growth. And then we were friends. Like, and we dreamt a lot of things together. But meeting her and hanging with her for a bit, it wasn't so much, oh, you want education, go for this course. No, she wanted to first pour into the relationship, right? And to get to meet the person for who the person was. And she didn't, what I liked about her, she wasn't very telling in her approach, right? That, oh, no, you want to do, go, but no, what you, like, just express your uniqueness, your genius, your beauty from your heart. But I'm like, who be this person? Like, who is this person that cared so much? When I ended up in the first school that I worked, you know, she just held my hand. And I don't know, if you allow me, I have a lot more things to say about it. Let me just hear your next question.
No, it's okay. And yeah, no, feel free to express in any ways that you do want to. It's obvious that Sheila was pretty central at this stage for you. So in the educational space itself, was there anything you were sensing with her that brought any kind of clarity to you?
Yes. Meeting her, I still explored for a bit. She gave you the freedom to express everything you wanted to express. And she made you know that, or she made me realize that anything is possible. So you can work as school administrator. If you would like access to the children, you can also have something you call variety time. So you can do anything and try to find out whether the classroom is where you would want to stay long term. Do you know what I mean? So she created avenues and was a good, what I found her to be, pillar, just a pillar of support that would listen, question, and then guide what I wanted to do. So it was okay that for the first year, I wasn't doing anything professional course or whatever, but I was just exploring the space to see where I really wanted to be. And I saw that what she was doing, what was different from me, is that it just came from her heart. It was not, she wasn't led, it wasn't for the money. I found people doing work not motivated by the money. The money was secondary. So she would spend her money to do many things, in training teachers, in hosting people. And she changed my perspective on, you know, the biblical worldview and secular, like having 2 lives. Like, this whole faith thing can weave into all your dimensions of life and is meant to weave into it. Most of what I learned and who I am today is just journeying with her in life. Like seeing how she would talk to the security man and pause by the gate, seeing how she would host her friends, seeing how I'm not feeling fine. And even though she wasn't Nigerian, she would bring pepper soup to my house. I just saw her do one faith differently without speaking English. I don't know if she even ever opened the Bible and said, Funmi, let's talk about this, right? It was heavily by lifestyle. And just through the process of our midwifing and just hanging with me as a friend, I was unfolding and getting to find myself. And we had different personalities. This was very interesting. God made us diverse intentionally, but human beings try to force us into robots. We are looking for robots, but that we should support each other's uniqueness. And that was what was beautiful. And there was just alignment. So I learned many things through that relationship. You know how they used to say, soulmates? We used to say that we were work soulmates. And because when we came together, by God's grace, we created absolute magic in the learning space.
Did you get any sense of any difference in terms of how you approached faith based on that relationship?
Yes, definitely. Just watching how she expressed her own faith And it just came from the heart, and it was the core of her life, and it was her worldview. And that was the thing. How she saw life was from the biblical perspective. It influenced the expression of love, especially love and service, as fundamental elements of faith. Sheila.
Just harping back to the fact that you seem to have essentially just escaped from the whole achieving performative kind of life expression, which would have been the worldview that you grew up with. Was there any points where it challenged what you knew of your worldview at that stage?
Yeah, although I wasn't conscious about it, I just knew that, yes, being around and working with her closely, there was peace. There was no acting. She taught me excellence and service and planning and intentionality, but from the place of rest that you're already accepted. It's not about what you would do, right? You're operating from a place of rest. You're already accepted. First of all, for Sheila, for work, it was you're already accepted. Just express your genius, ask questions. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be vulnerable. And yes, we used to talk about vulnerable dimensions of life, stuff that I'm not used to. We used to do deep conversations. Everything was on the table. So it didn't feel like work. So the years of doing stuff with her, it just felt like creation and just thriving like birds that are just flying. It was just, it was ease. Yeah, it was ease. So that's, and even when she's watching, you're like, how did I perform? How did I? You did. And she meant it. She's like, no, you got, see, the belief Sheila has in you, like just the sheer belief and projection. Or when she's introducing you, I don't know, it was a thing that boosted confidence to say you are enough. So just bring out what is in, bring out what is in.
I want to talk about, you mentioned something about creation just now. And obviously a school was something that you birthed from following a relationship with your friend. I just want you to articulate to us what your drive was for this idea of a school.
Okay, so with my friend and even in my individual capacity, I started my work in the learning space and development space, work in very big international schools. At some point did maybe international development, so rural education and government education. I looked at the gaps in the Nigerian education system. I love Nigeria. I'm very patriotic. I'm very pro-Niger, all that. And then I'm like, what are the gaps in the average child's life? Right. So we actually sat down, brought other friends on the table, and then we highlighted it. One, and then we made that our unique selling proposition for starting a school. And I'm also one for being something you believe, then doing it. Right. So we are like, oh, this speaking English. Training was just English. You're speaking English to people. It was okay. You go, you support them in their school. Do you want to test it? Do you want to try it? Do you want to create a model to highlight these things like purpose-driven life? So we had 5 unique things. We wanted children that were clear or supported in their unique purpose in life, children that are responsible citizens of the community that they belong to, children that are confident and articulate communicators, that are not apologetic for themselves, children that will take care of their environment. We had like 5 things that we thought there were gaps on that, and children that loved their school, so that school did not need to be that place where you drop your personality and you start becoming a robot. No, that you bring your authenticity and everybody brings their uniqueness and their strengths to the table. And we just love our community and we build something that is deep. Parents being involved, everybody being involved. So just the audacity to do that and then elevate other dimensions of learning that people are silent about. So instead of have just head girl, science prefect, then you have service leader, entrepreneurship prefect, sustainability champion, like all these things of people dumbing down an education system on you, versus looking at your context. It also helps that I did a master's in education for sustainability. So looking at your context and say, what is relevant for the Nigerian child? Can education be for real life, not education that is irrelevant to my life every day, or when I'm even done with school is irrelevant? And education is for today, it's not for next tomorrow. So how can a child connect what they are learning today to their everyday life? So all that, wanted to put it together and then try a school out, because
Did you see a connection between what you were doing and a lot of the angst that you had growing up at the time? Were you able to make any of those connections?
not necessarily. Maybe indirectly, coming from my own pain points. In school, I zoned out from secondary school. Primary school, my natural genius was on. But I would say now that definitely I was influenced by all that. And yes, especially when you think of purpose-driven individuals and things like that. And just a question of success. Everybody wants to be successful. That's the big thing. Where are we running to? So all that audacity to ask those questions. Yeah. Sorry, I must say this. In the school, this is our passion coming across. In the school that so Casa Child that we founded, which I ran for 7 years, we asked the children, what is money for? What is work for? What is success? If you get a job, if you don't get a job, who should you respect? We talk about unconventional things that are relevant in everyday life. Yeah.
Sorry, so you just sped through the name of your school. I'd like for people to be able to truly actually find this, because I think it's important. What were the metrics for it in terms of intake, in terms of students who have run through it, funding? What kind of program was it?
Okay, so the school is Casa Chat School, is located in Kuje, Abuja. It's meant to be an affordable Christian community school, so that having like families involved and shared values, things like that are very important to us. Affordability was a big element. What we wanted to also cater for is relatively low but economically active parents who shared the values that we shared and would come and would like their children to be part of that system. It has always been a small school because we are quite selective. Values are very important to us. Yeah, so I would say at the max, close to 100 children. In setting it up, I knew that it wasn't about me. It was about this dream and these ideas, and to create a model that can run, that a community can run by itself. So the school is still running. I don't run it. I don't own it. I've transferred the ownership, but it's still on, and they're still learning by the day and growing by the day, and I'm supporting them as well as I journey on my expression to solve the next problem. We try to do things differently. Children are learning for service. They are learning to fulfill their full potential.
Wow. Just to be clear, you started and you've transferred it onto the community to run.
Yeah. Yes.
So what, you have zero stakes in it at the moment?
I don't have, zero ownership at the moment. I transferred it to a former colleague in the first school that I worked, who is now based there, because for legal requirements, there must be somebody that is taking leadership, and she's working closely with the community to run the school.
So there's no gain when it comes to any financial.
No. I'm the concept of stewardship is very loud in my ears. I think that, I don't know, maybe it's God has called me to stewardship, all of us actually, but to even also remind every other person, because I really live light. I don't hold anything that is material dearly, but this is just the way I'm wired. I don't take anything as mine as such. So even in living Casa Chat, it was tough. People that did not even support the dream now are like, why would you just leave it? They did not even support me being in one community that is far away from town. They had never been. So people, we have to be careful the stories we listen to. I just have clarity on our journey, right? So it took 3 years to plan the transfer and the transition, and just a lot of dialoguing with the community. But no, Casa Chat is not mine. That was a difficult thing for people to engage. We came here with nothing. We live with nothing. We're going to account. We are just here doing the master's will, the person, the creator that put us here. That's my strong conviction, strong belief, and that's the way I live my life lightly.
So what is the next chapter now for you after Kaza Chat?
Okay, so post Kaza Chat, in Kaza Chat, with time, I realized that all these other values that people are silent on or that needs to be echoed more loudly can be done without the burdens of a formal school, like me sitting with the Nigerian government, leading us with their policies and agreeing and disagreeing. And of course, everything is growth. Before, when I'm thinking education, I was still heavily thinking maths, English, science, and those are important components of education. But there are many people doing that. I have a thing where I'm drawn to quiet places or areas that people are avoiding for whatever reason, or maybe they are not profitable, but society and community actually needs them. So right now, I'm the service leader at Steward Live, another initiative that I formed. We still work with Kaza Chat and we work with other schools as well. The big thing is to teach stewardship, faithful discipleship, because Femi, I'm now God is the core of our lives. There's nothing in life. And so I'm like, there are bigger issues to talk about than maths and English. There are issues that have eternal consequences. There are issues that give peace. And for people to live content, whether you have 1 naira or you have 1 million, there's a way to do life differently. Also, something that has affected my experience a lot, of course, you mentioned losing Sheila and many loved ones, my father, many friends. There was a season when a lot of people passed on. And that, for me, contextualized the meaning of life, right? Hence, the name of the organization, Steward Life. So if you want to succeed at your experience here, it makes sense to know that person, know his expectations, because at the end, you are going back to that one person. So you're going to account not to the 1 million people that you care about on social media or real life, but that one person. At the end of it, what? Emptiness. I found a joy. I found a peace. It helped in my meeting with Sheila and just meeting other people, a peace that passes human understanding. You might not have everything that you want, but there's peace, there is joy, and there is doing life. You sleep, you wake up, you know that you live in a broken world. You will not let anybody lie to you that once you know Christ, from a Christian, if you're a Christian, that all your problems are solved. We have to tell people these things early in life. Nobody told us, and that's one of the things I realized. They lied to us. So I'm a person who like, people lie, really lies, because you come to life and you're like, no, I'm a child, I go to church, they tell me this is church, they tell me by this time next year, everybody will something, and then you get next year, and you're like, no, it didn't change, but nobody's asking any questions. Why? So maybe the faith that we have, the Christian faith, is more than by this time next year, maybe it's more than rich or poor. The conversation is deeper. So how can people meet this person? So in Steward Life, we are working with people to just pause. And it's just a pause. Sometimes our session, let's ask questions about life. Question yourself. What does success mean to me? What do I have in my hands? Nobody's disadvantaged. The God that we have is good. We're in a broken world. Problems will come. So just to navigate those challenges in life and to say, what you're going to account for is what you have in your hands. Is the talent, if it's one, it's not what you don't have that you account for. That's the core of what we do. We do it through merchandise. We do it through sessions, open learning sessions, live experience sharing. We also intentionally try to support communities where there are critical needs. So we care for communities and people at the front line of sharing the gospel of Jesus.
So with the conviction that you have and the passion that's in your voice and the presence and the peace and all that you have come to experience based on your faith and your work with God, what are the brokenness that you can see in your space personally?
Interesting question. Remember, I didn't have friends early. So working with human beings now, there's anxiousness around meeting a new person. You can't even trust in people, but just navigating people, like the balance between doing life alone and doing life with people. And just doing life with people. That's one factually, but also especially in group settings, because I found groups to disagree with my approach for life. So I've had to navigate alone against groups. So that's one. brokenness of life. Oh, I thought I'll be like, I'm over 40, I'm unmarried, I've dated, I've been in relationships, I'm still unmarried. But yeah, so that's another one where if I had followed, I would have been in a more sad, broken, depressed state if I followed my upbringing or what I've heard most people say. So honestly, as I sit, I still want to be married. But as I'm unmarried, I am living, enjoying the benefits of being unmarried. I am not doing life conventionally, so I don't feel as supported on my life journey because I've also been on projects, and then your values clashing when you are not performing, or you are saying, oh no, we have to align to an invisible God that is not seeing us, but he cares about how we do what we do. So you have resistance. I think those are some of the challenges daily. We cry, then we stand up, we move. But I'm so grateful for the peace that comes with in God, anchored in having a relationship, reconnected to my creator God. Yeah, that's my anchor.
Did you feel there was any sense of a dependence on when you found this relationship or relationships that were so freeing and exhilarating for you? And I ask that because of the fact that now that that relationship is no longer there, has that affected your worldview or that sense of doing life with somebody else?
Maybe sometimes in the past, when I found those relationships that were deep and real and inner circle, then I relied so much. I anchored so much on those relationships, and it has helped since then that my anchor has gone back to God first. Yes, it's great to have super relationships, but people come, people might go. But in the case of Sheila specifically, for me, it's more a challenge to say is to continue what she started. I know she's not God, though, but living her life through me, do you know what I mean? It's an extension of what she sacrificed for. It's things I'm learning, because in the past, when I find safe relationships, then I stick to only one or two, and maybe sometimes those relationships are pressured by it. It's not 0 or 100 when you're dealing with human beings. There's 20% and it's fine. There's 80. So I'm learning all that on the go.
There are probably people who are looking up to you the same way you were looking up to some of the people you talked about. Where do you feel that you sit in that space? What's that level of comfort that you have?
I think that for myself, I feel very aligned, very authentic values versus what I'm expressing. I feel like I am being who I am and I am being who I believe. So I've never had peace and joy at this level that I have now. And like you said, what I would wish for at this season, or just is a bit more support or alignment. Not necessarily doing the same things, but people that are like minds, are bold to question, bold to be authentic. That would be very helpful and nourishing at this phase for my journey, both at a more senior level or at my peer level. There's tiredness that comes for me in recent years where everybody's looking up in quotes to you. Yeah, just hoping that you get that community of support that might be doing different things, but the core of life, there's rest and there's peace and there's doing life together in authentic ways. Because you are Femi, I am connecting with you as Femi. Whatever you bring to the table, we are navigating that kind of relationship. But for me, Fums, like myself, I am so grateful for where I am as an individual internally, is how to do better externally and to find maybe the systems which every human being needs to navigate so you don't over isolate.
Yeah. Do you still refer back to your friend in ways like, how would this person navigate this? Or do you get any kind of inspirations still from her, even if she's not here. You said you were admiring of this person was the fact that there was so much that they had to give, even when they weren't necessarily getting it from other people. Does that challenge you? Does that make you feel like there's more digging to do into your own well?
So even though it's friendship, leadership, yeah, in the way she did it, like vulnerability, so I could see the challenges as I was seeing the strengths. And that's something that I'm learning, and I've had to learn on the journey, coming from my background of performing, boss, then they went to MBA school, this one, oh yeah, blah, blah. Nobody's got, nobody has it all figured out. Because she lets me into our struggles in vulnerable ways, and that did not take away from her strengths and what she had. So just that authentically also carrying people along on your journey, right? Sometimes you just want your subordinates and people you are giving direction, you just want to show them a perfect picture. I got this, got this, got this. But yeah, so sometimes I refer back, I think about how she would have done it. People say, I talk about her as if she's alive. Someone said that to me less than a week ago. Because then she's alive. like in me, yeah. Sometimes I'm tired of stopping and winding down, rolling down my glass to say hello to a security man. Then I remember, my friend will pause. Every work, there's dignity in work. Everybody's valuable, made in the image of God. All those concepts I learned through her. So you wind it down, even though in Nigerian culture, by the time people will say, by the time you're overkind to certain people, like they will not take you for granted because you are not doing that. You still try to follow what you believe is even also the Christ-like approach to servant leadership. Yeah. And if you want to be the greatest, be the least and all. Yeah.
Yeah. Was there a part of this that was even more surprising based on the fact that Sheila, and you've mentioned this in passing, that she's Caucasian? Was there a part of that even made it a bit more telling in terms of that connection, or the openness, the qualities that you saw in her?
So for me, that helped me to see that we're all humans. After all, we're all humans. Dealing with Sheila just helps me cross the bridge, continents and cultures, because she came and was part of culture. She culturized herself, I hope that is the correct word, with community, and became who we were. And she loved it. She took on the culture, loved the culture, shared some of hers where there was a need to. There was no barrier for culture or for color or for, it was not even a thing. It wasn't on the table, because she would go to even some places I'm avoiding to go to. Just the power of the human spirit to die to self and to die to comfort and ease. Like just meeting somebody that is at peace with their humanity, strengths and weaknesses, whilst they are trying to be better versions of themselves, I'll say under God. There's nothing as beautiful as that. I always say that, this thing of missionaries that come to Nigeria, who was the person? Mary Slessor, that saved twins in Cross River, and her names are in the history books. Sheila is what's writing in history books. You can't forget. How can you forget Sheila?
You've mentioned vulnerability as a central thing, right? In terms of something you saw in Sheila. I want you to go to a vulnerable place in your life and tell me, what are your aspirations, or what are the things that would be your vulnerabilities? Okay.
I hope to find a life partner that we can do life together. So marriage is what it's called, but like a life partner, it's be so beautiful to have someone that you do life together. You don't have to be just, so that's one big one. And hopefully have a child by the person, hopefully. I also hope to find ways, because even though I speak of these things, I'm aware that I'm not saying be irresponsible. I'm not saying money is not important, because many of the projects that I do, at the scale that I do, money is required. So I'm also hoping that I can build a bigger system around what I believe that can mobilize funds to do more work. It'd be nice to be part of a community where people are accepted, where there's just be part of a flourishing deep community. And the need is much if you're in Nigeria. So there's a lot of need. And I also hope this one I don't know if it will resonate with anybody, but just having a healthy, I've not found one, maybe because of the brokenness of the world, Christian community or faith-based community where we emphasize what the Bible emphasizes, and with less formality, tradition, structure, but just a community around faith where people are just doing life the way Scripture has recommended, without that is less humanly influenced.
For me, it's been so exciting talking to you. I really have been so touched and so challenged, actually, by the stuff that you shared today. Almost feels to me as if I'm hearing some of this for the very first time. The passion that's in your voice and just the sense of acceptance that you seem to radiate just says a lot. And I thank you for the time today.
Some stories stay with us, not because they ended, but because they never really did. This is Echoes and Parables.